there, Ramon here from Memoryz, and welcome to another episode of our Caregiver interviews. And today we have an amazing caregiver from Southern California, and I'll toss it over to her to introduce herself.
Okay, great. Yes. So my name is Ciana Singh. I am my grandmother's caregiver. I have been her caregiver for the last 5 years and been doing it full time, really overtime for the last 3 years. I started caring for my grandmother when my mom just couldn't handle it on her own anymore. She's been diagnosed with dementia for the last 8 to 9 years. And so this is our story.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what the initial diagnosis was like for you and what it was like for your family at that time?
Okay, so when my grandmother first got diagnosed with dementia, she was having issues with being able to connect things that she wanted to say and actually being able to have them come out of her mouth. And so you think, right, like, we all kind of forget a word here or there, but it was on a level where it was affecting her ability to carry on full-on conversations to the level where they were just starting to not make sense. So we noticed this for about a couple of years, but it just was getting worse and worse. Also, my grandmother started complaining and saying, something just doesn't feel right. So we took her in to a primary care doctor. They ran tests, and lo and behold, she has dementia. So that's kind of how we got started with the dementia journey of just her feeling like she just couldn't connect words. Like her brain wasn't being able to actually speak out what she wanted to say in a conversation.
Okay. No, thank you so much for sharing that. So I guess, I know you mentioned before that you and your grandmother were really close. So what was it like for you to kind of witness that, after having such a close relationship with her for so many years?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. With my grandmother being up in age, it was kind of expected for her to forget things, or for us to know that we have to step up to, do things for her physically, or, drive her places or do errands. So it wasn't really that bad at the beginning, to be honest. It was just kind of like, okay, this is our new stage as grandma and granddaughter, and I'm happy to help you. I think the biggest part has been the last 4 years. So not really the beginning diagnosis, because she was still able to, she was having a tough time speaking, but it was still, overall, it was fine. She was still able to get up and shower and, do hygiene stuff on her own and check her bank statements and change the television and cook. And she was still able to do a lot in the beginning stages, but the last 4 years, I would say, would be the most heartbreaking, because it's like you're having to relearn who this person is every single day, because there's something breaking down every single day. So it's almost like you're grieving through the process of them still being alive. So yeah, so I would say the last 4 years has been really, really hard and trying. So yeah.
Okay. And I can't even imagine what that has been like for you to be able to step up and be the primary caregiver for your grandmother at such a young age. So I guess what has been your experiences with caregiver burnout and feeling really exhausted? How have you been able to handle that, and how has it kind of impacted your journey so far?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would say, honestly, the last year has been when I finally got to a state of acceptance and have found a level of peace that I can, a level of mental space where I can put peace in that area of being able to take care of my grandmother. The last 5 years have just been hard. And as far as burnout goes, I just would get through it by the gym. So I'm really, really big on going to the gym. I'm really, really big on mindfulness, meditation. So that's where I would get out my personal aggression. But I would say actually being able to deal with it on a consistent basis without being able, without going to the gym or anything like that, especially with the coronavirus, all the gyms got closed. So I was like, oh my God, that was my outlet. So I would just say, through meditation, I eat really healthy. I'm really big on, into really organic teas and things like that. So just starting out with just keeping me together is what I think helped me get out of the slump of caregiver burnout. But I'm also a partner in crime with my mom. So, some days would be really, really bad for her. So then I would have to help her, not only just my grandma. And then some days would be really, really bad for me. So my mom would have to be a strength for me too. So I would say just being able to lean on my mom, you know, health, fitness, being able to just remember to focus on myself. And then another thing, I think the last year, the caregiver burnout for me, for some reason, flipped, because I was like, my grandma's the one who is literally going through this painful experience. So I'm healthy, I'm young, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine at the end of the day. So like, who cares if she has an attitude, or who cares if she swung at me? You know, who cares if she, you know, I have to get her out of the bed. I flipped it on myself. I was like, well, thank God I have the ability to pick her up. Like, thank God I'm healthy, so I can be there for her who's not healthy. You know, thank God I'm strong. You know, thank God I like to work out, because I'm physically fit to be able to pick her up. So every single thing that used to like really get to me, or really put me in a space of um just defeat, I flipped it on myself, and I was like, well, I get to do this. This is actually a blessing. I actually am able to give her the best care that I'm able to, because we're financially okay. You know, we're able to give her the best food. You know, thank God I can serve her food instead of her giving herself food, because I can give her the best food. So that's what I did. That's what I did. It's kind of a long-winded answer, but yeah.
No, I honestly love that answer, because I think it touches on such a few things that I think a lot of caregivers struggle with. Even just one, recognizing that the situation you're going through is incredibly challenging, but still being able to be optimistic and grateful for the privileges that you do have. Like prioritizing yourself and your own wellness and the wellness of your mom, who's also your partner in crime. I think that is really admirable, because I know that you're going through a really challenging situation. So being able to do that is like huge props to you. I guess like going off that, like what advice would you give to caregivers who are struggling to prioritize themselves and prioritize their own wellness and struggling to remain optimistic? What would you want to say to them?
You know, the first thing that checked me in was remembering that this is temporary. This is temporary. So if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, like this is just such a difficult time period. Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. Oh my gosh, I can't handle it. Well, just flip it on yourself. What can you do now to have the situation make you a better person, so that way when this time period is done, you will have come out better on the other side. So for example, when I feel like I'm getting like having a really, really stressful day with my grandma, I'm like, okay, in this moment, let me try and practice patience, because this is not going to be forever. I'm not going to always have to pick my grandma up out of the bed. I'm not going to always have to, you know, make sure my grandmother is changed, you know, with her hygiene. I'm not going to always have to, you know, administer my grandmother's medication. So how can I use this moment right now to make myself a better person, so in the future I'm, you know, becoming my best self? I'm really into, like, again, spirituality and mindfulness and meditation, so I think that really plays a big part into it. And I just kind of remember that I'm this is a short season of time, you know, this is a short season. um so yeah, that's what I would say. I would just say, remember that it's temporary. Now, if you are a caregiver and you like, this is your job, like this is what you do at a facility, that's like a whole nother, you know, a whole nother section. But if you're someone like me that just kind of fell into having to be a caregiver for someone that's a loved one, and you're like, I didn't go to school for this, I'm not trained for this, I don't have the patience for this, I don't like to do it, you know, I don't want to spend my time doing this. Remember that there's a bigger purpose. You know, remember that, you know, you are literally becoming a better person every single day that you are caring for your loved one. And that's the best gift you can give to somebody, is, you know, this level of unconditional love. So that's what I do. That's what I would, that would be my advice to other caregivers out there.
No, I love that piece of advice. I love this idea of like kind of just stepping back and picturing like what is the greater purpose of the experience you're going through. So I guess just going off that point, like what do you think some of the biggest lessons you've learned about yourself, or about like the world, or about caregiving? Like what are some of the big takeaways you've gotten from your experience that you'd want to share with other caregivers?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many, but the biggest ones, Number one, I would say if you're feeling lost, so was I, because when we first got my grandmother first got diagnosed with her condition, we didn't know what to do after that. So it wasn't like our doctor said, okay, cool, she's diagnosed, you need to contact this person, you need to get in contact with this community, you need to get with this platform, you need to get with this group of caregivers. It wasn't laid out for us on like a silver platter. We just were told she has dementia and she has to take these medications. So I would say just like the gap between helping a family transition into truly understanding what the next steps are, like, okay, cool, your loved one has dementia, this is what to do. That wasn't my experience. So I would say, first and foremost, if you are a caregiver that is taking care of somebody with this dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever it is, do as much research as possible. There are a lot of resources out there, which I really discovered them only 2 years ago, and I've been caring for her for 5 years. So, excuse me, start to do as much research as possible. And then I would say, as far as learning about myself, it's just my patience. I realize how much I do not have patience, how much I lacked patience. And, going through this experience really just taught me to breathe through the difficult moments and get back to a space of being balanced and level-headed, and remembering not to take it personal. If she's really frustrated with me or she's really agitated, it's her condition. It's not my grandmother as Chucky doing it to Ciana as a granddaughter. It's her condition is taking over. She's living in a new reality now. So I would say my level of patience, and just telling everyone out there that, yes, if you're feeling lost and you're feeling like there's a gap between the medical industry and like the resources out there, I have felt that as well. And, get with the Alzheimer's .org organization. I have Alzheimer's LA. That's what I use. And that's really, really helped me get organized and help me feel more confident when it comes to taking care of my grandma.
No, for sure, for sure. And I honestly love those insights again, especially that point about recognizing that this isn't your grandmother doing this to you. This is, her living in a new reality with this condition. And I kind of want to delve into that a little like deeper. So, like, what do
Yeah.
you think some of like the biggest misconceptions people have about caregiving are? What do you think some of the biggest misconceptions you had about caregiving were when you first started?
Yeah. So specifically with dementia, we took it personal. We, again, because we weren't educated, we didn't do the research at the beginning. We didn't understand when she was getting frustrated, when she was, getting physical. I mean, literally, she was getting physical with us. When she was crying, we thought it was something we were doing wrong. We thought it was something we were lacking, in our part in caring for her. So that would probably be the biggest misconception, is that what they're going through, they're not doing it to us. They're going along this journey, and we have to adjust to their new reality and their journey. So I would say that's like one of the biggest things. And then I would also say, this is an interesting one. When I tell people that I'm a caregiver, and then I tell them that I'm caring for my grandmother, they're like, oh, okay, cool, that must be easy. Like, I think that's a really big misconception, that this is just easy. Like, I get to be as my grandma, that my grandma's still in the kitchen cooking for me, like when I was young or something. I don't really understand why that's like a very common first response to when I tell them I'm a caregiver for someone with dementia, because it actually shows me how much they don't know about dementia and Alzheimer's. They're like, oh yeah, all old people forget. And I'm like, forget things or have memory issues. And I'm like, no, this is a whole nother ball game. But then that's also a concern. Why are there so many people that really don't understand what dementia is or what Alzheimer's is? It's like, we know what diabetes is, we know what heart disease is, we know what cancer is, but we really don't understand the level of what dementia does to a human being, or what, Alzheimer's does to a human being. So I would say just a misconception of caregiving being super easy, and that, it doesn't take a toll out on the actual caregiver themselves.
No, I love that last point, especially the misconception of it being easy, because you're staying at home with someone and caring for them, but it's a 24/7 job that's incredibly physically and emotionally demanding. So I guess just going off that point, like, what would you want to say to someone who's maybe not as educated about dementia and Alzheimer's, who's not educated about caregiving? What would you want to say to them to allow them to better empathize with people who are going through what you're going through?
Yeah, I would say get educated. If you're not educated and if you're watching this, get educated immediately, because the more you feel, I'm actually have a call later on with Alzheimer's, the Alzheimer's organization, and it's literally discussing how, like, from professionals, how to speak to somebody that has Alzheimer's and dementia, because it's like, how you're used to speaking to your loved one as that relationship you've been, used to for years. So I'm used to talking to my grandma as my grandma. Hey grandma, how's it going? Da, da, da. I'm now talking to somebody that has dementia. I'm not talking to Chucky, who she used to be. So I would say getting educated and doing your research on what resources are in your area, in your space, so that way you feel more confident. Because I can't say, I wouldn't want anyone to do what I did, which was just to get pushed through and learn the hard way every day and go through many, blood, sweat, and tears to figure out, oh, maybe if I'm just more patient, oh, maybe if I just lower my voice a little bit, maybe she won't be as startled. Or, if I'm not asking her, I'm like, hey grandma, what do you want to eat? I actually need to give her options, hey grandma, here's chicken, here's fish. Which one do actually we're past that level at this point, but for people that are, early stages, mid stages, there's tactics and ways, and there's been tons of studies and research on the best ways to handle individuals. So that's something that you're probably not going to just know how to do without getting the education. So again, get with alzheimers.org, or I know there's a ton of different organizations out there. Just literally typing in like resources for dementia, Alzheimer's in my area, and then just see what comes up and just start making phone calls. I would also say, if you're somebody that feels like you just need a break, there is adult daycare services. So during the mid stages with my grandmother, we put her in adult daycare. It was super close down the street, so we could pop over there if we felt like, we wanted to check on her. And they're very engaging with her. They would, feed her. They would do activities and sing and do all these things. So see if there is a adult daycare in your area. Most of these adult daycares is covered through their insurance. And then, I mean, yeah, I would say those are the two biggest things. You got to get educated, and you got to just see what the resources are out there in your area. So it'll give you a sense of like, you feel like you're not in this alone. I just recently got added to a Facebook group for dementia and Alzheimer's. So if you are into social media, just literally type in dementia Alzheimer's groups, and there's a ton of them that come up, and just click to see if you can join. Some of them you have to fill out like a little survey. Most of the time I've gotten accepted to every single one of them. And then there's a ton of people giving, a ton of advice on, what to do. Also, one more thing to add, with the Alzheimer's organization, there is 24-hour on call caregiving consultants that you can talk to, which I didn't know about until recently. So if you're, for example, like for wandering, when I was dealing with my grandmother wandering at 3 a.m, I could have called that number and, gotten some advice on how to calm her down and get her to want to, sit back down. So yeah, I would say get in touch with your resources in your area ASAP.
No, I thank you so much for giving all that advice. I definitely think that anyone watching this who doesn't know about Alzheimer's or is maybe just a new caregiver, I think they'll pull a lot of really good insights off some of the things you touched about. There's one last thing that I kind of wanted to ask you, and you briefly mentioned it.
Yes.
And I know we actually found you through like on your Instagram page through social media. So
Yeah.
I was just like wondering what role social media has played in your caregiving experience so far, and what kind of prompted you to start sharing your journey in this way.
Okay, so there's a couple things. Going back to the conversation about, oh, you're a caregiver, oh, that must be easy. I was like, I don't think that people really understand what I do. And it wasn't their fault, like my friends and other people, just like other family members even. I was like, I don't think they really understand. So that prompted me. I was like, with the approval of my mom, who is my grandmother's power of attorney, I was like, if it's okay with my mom, I want to just share our journey, because I don't think that people really understand the severity of dementia and what it really does to a person, and then what it does to the family members, and then how we have to interact with her. So I would say just raising awareness of the actual in real time what's going on with a caregiver and the person, dealing with dementia. So that was number one. Number two, I feel like I just have a bigger calling to share, because first of all, I just want to make an impact on the world in some kind of way. I've always been somebody that does community service. I was, part of a sorority. I was just always like an active member in my community. So I'm like, the coronavirus is going on. You can't really do, I mean, I guess you can still volunteer places, but, I can't really just be out doing a bunch of stuff because I'm her full-time caregiver. So, we have to make sure that we're staying COVID safe and stuff like that. So I was like, what's another way that I can make an impact on a bigger level? Just for myself personally. So that's number two. And then number three, it's been very therapeutic, just to be able to be vulnerable, put myself out there, share my story. And then, it's like, it almost gives me a sense of, it actually helps me stay calm or stay patient or practice the things that I've learned. Cause I'm like, okay, if I'm going to share with other people that there's all these things that I've learned, or how to be patient, or, how to, calm them down, or, what resources are out there, I actually like need to be on point myself with it. So it's almost like holding me accountable in a way, by sharing, on social media. And then I've just gotten so many amazing people that have reached out with, thank you so much for sharing. I had no idea. Or thank you so much for sharing, because my loved one just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, last week. And I have no idea what this is. I've never even heard of it. Other people hitting me up that are ahead of me, that are saying, yes, you're doing a great job. My loved one died from Alzheimer's and dementia, a year or two ago. And I know exactly what you're going through, and you're going to get through it. So it's almost like I'm getting people that are behind, like in the early stages of this situation. I'm getting people that are ahead of the situation, and then people that are going through it with me. And so I'm just covering this big old group of like time periods in this condition. That's just ultimately making it easier for me and my mom to care for my grandma, by sharing our stories. So I would say those are the big three reasons why. And it's been pretty cool. It's been fun. I just love social media. Like, I love making posts. I love making captions. I'm like into social media naturally. So it doesn't feel like torture, for me to like post. I'm like, ooh, I get to wake up. I'm like, okay, let me show, the day in the life of a caregiver today, or let me just focus on one aspect, or let me just focus on, sensory items, how that works, why it works, or let me focus on her nutrition, so it's allowing me to be creative, with this. So it's turning caregiving into an art, I guess. So yeah, that's why.
No, I feel like I even just learned so much from that from your insights right there. So I really, really appreciate you, and I'm sure everyone else listening too. Social media is a powerful tool to connect with people. It's therapeutic. It's a great way to kind of fight the stigma around dementia, Alzheimer's, and caregiving. So definitely really appreciate what you're doing for the community. If anyone listening kind of wants to like follow you or like reach out or learn more about what you're doing, like where can they find you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at with love Chucky. I'm not sure if you're going to put this
Yeah,
up somewhere.
we'll put it below, and we'll
Perfect.
got you. Yeah.
Perfect. Link me up. So yes, so I'm on Instagram at with love Chucky. I'm also on TikTok. We have a little bit more fun on TikTok. So at with love Chucky on TikTok. And then also I do have an Amazon store. So when you go to my Instagram for at with love Chucky, I have an Amazon store where there's all of everything that you need. Diapers, wipes, sensory items, adaptive clothing. I literally just bought my grandmother some really cute little adaptive clothing. So if you want to find out what all that is, go to my it's in the link in my bio. And I've learned the hard way. I've already done the hard work for you. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to get all this stuff, or kind of like a toolkit, a caregiving toolkit for someone with dementia, click on my Amazon store and you can get all the stuff that you need in that link.
Perfect. So at With Love Chucky on Instagram and TikTok, both linked below. Also Amazon store, also linked below. Can also be found in the at With Love Chucky Instagram bio. Please take advantage, guys. She's really done the work. She's put in the work. All the resources are available for you. So just thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us. Really loved hearing your insights. Such an inspiring caregiver.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so be sure to tune in next week for our next caregiver interview, and be sure to check out With Love Chucky for her amazing journey. Okay.
Thanks.